Welcome to the Better World Humans podcast. Holly, thank you for coming on. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So let's get right into it. Most people are pretty familiar with YMCA, but just for a little refresher, can you touch on what is YMCA and talk about the mission of the organization and how youth development is pertaining to it?
I think when most people think of the Y, they remember that they learned to swim or that they played basketball. And so that's the two biggest things I think that the world pretty much knows the Y by. But when it comes to youth development, I think it's a big part of the Y. It's also one of those programs that's outside the walls of most Ys. And so when a member walks through a facility, they see the swimming pool or the tennis courts or the health and wellness center. What they don't see are those 750 kids that are being served every day after school in the neighboring churches or elementary schools. And so youth development is kind of that unseen gem of the Y that we have to talk about so people know what's going on.
Right. That's awesome. And here in Eugene, I know we'll think about pre-COVID right now. How does YMCA serve youth development in Eugene?
Well, that was over 7 months ago, Justin. A long time. So in pre-COVID, we had after-school programs. So we had about 700 plus kids in various elementary schools before and after school care. We had them September through June. We had winter break camps. We served a healthy snack after school. We maybe had 20 minutes of homework time, some enrichments, plenty of physical activity, caring, loving staff, families that come pick them up, go home. That was pre-COVID. 3 hours a day, piece of cake.
Yeah. And can you talk about why some of the 3 hours a day, why after school care is so important?
Well, families need to work. And so one of the main parts of youth development and for any child care program is we serve families. And so we serve families when they're working, when they're going to school, when they need respite. That's what child care is for.
Absolutely. And, you talked about it pre-COVID being 7 months ago. Now it is COVID. Can you talk about, some of the challenges and how YMCA has pivoted its after school services to now kind of being like a full on youth development program?
I can. So for me, and I've adopted the date for our youth development program too. March 12th was when the world shut down. Schools were closed. They wanted families to come pick up their kids. That Friday was a no school day. Come March 16th, we're like, what the heck are we going to do? And so we got together with a group of partners, the city, the county, neighboring school districts, and we were trying to figure out how to serve families. Because families at that point were still working. Not a lot of places had shut down yet. And we knew that we needed to still serve our mission, providing that safe place for youth to be. And so we figured out how to operate childcare programs all day. So in the spring, it was more of kind of a hodgepodge distance learning that we were doing, and we had activities. And it seemed like every 2 to 3 weeks, the rules were changing. So the guidelines were changing. At first, we didn't have to wear masks. We didn't. At one point, I think I had 18,000 rubber gloves in my office. And that lasted a summer. That was how many gloves it took for us to take temperatures, to do all the cleaning and sanitizing. So we've morphed over 7 months into a pretty well-run operation with the amount of cleaning and sanitizing and health checks and screening. In the last 5 weeks, I think it's been 5 or 6 weeks, I think we've reached what it will be a normal comprehensive distance learning schedule for the schools now, but it's been a lot of adjusting and supporting families and frustrated families when kids don't get their homework done. And yeah, sorry, I tend to tangent.
No, that's great. And it sounds like you had to almost create this whole new system and way of operating. And I'm wondering if there are certain community partners that have helped you in this process of being able to pivot.
In the beginning, well, we actually don't like the word pivot, Justin.
Okay.
We now use plot twist.
Plot twist. Okay. I'll start using that.
it's just a better phrase to use. But let's see, in the beginning, it was the city of Eugene. It was, let's see, the school district. It was the county. So they helped in the beginning. Our Quality Cares Connections, which is who helps kind of hold all the child care programs accountable. The Early Learning Division, Oregon Health Authority. So we looked to a lot of people to help us figure out kind of what our new normal was going to be. Right now, our partners are the school district and the funders that have helped us financially. So right now we have quite a few families in our program who are McKinney-Vento. So they are unhoused families. And then we have families who normally wouldn't need childcare, but their schools have recognized that these kiddos are struggling. And so they're in our program, and United Way is helping us to pay for their tuition to be in our program. So they can be successful and their families can search for work.
Yeah, I know it's hard when there's like normally school from 8 to 3 and that's like free childcare. So what do you do now when that's just not there? So it's great that you all have like stepped up, and I know that you all have had to like plot twist, sorry, and move to different churches. So what are some of the challenges that like moving towards, that COVID has presented?
Well, ensuring that other people are following the same rules and guidelines that we are. Mm-hmm. That's probably one of the biggest, I guess, quirks, and that our staff know what our expectations of ourselves are. You ask yourself the health screening questions, you take your temperature upon walking into a facility, you sanitize or hand wash as soon as you walk in. And when you don't see others doing that, that's hard because we're trying to do everything in our power to keep kids safe, to keep ourselves safe. And so when you don't see other people doing that's hard. But the two churches that we're in right now, they do follow the guidelines and they're amazing, absolutely amazing. It would more so be when we go out in public or we're outside of the Y time and we see things happening and we're like, come on, just mask up, just put the mask on, wash your hands. Keep that 6 foot physical distance.
Yeah, it's like pretty simple to do. And I know that, I'm at the Boys and Girls Club. I'm an after school teacher. And when we're at the park, it's a public park. So sometimes there are, kids and families without masks on. And it's just like, can you please follow that? And, that brings me to a follow-up question. Beth was mentioning to me before this that you all have wonderful staff and that they have really helped aid in, this transition of a plot twist. Could you talk more about how your staff have really helped in this process?
Well, in all honesty, our staff are exhausted. They're tired. And I hope that they've stuck with us because they believe in the Y and they believe in their leadership. And we've tried to be very transparent with them along the way. Like, the rules have changed again. Now we have to do it this way. We've tried to, shower them with little gifts. We try to check in with them and be as transparent and open with them as we possibly can, because it's hard when things really do change. And I'm sure you're operating emergency childcare under those guidelines and rules. And so those things change and there's quirks and twists along the way. And it's hard when you're being told things, but you've got 66 staff who aren't. And so how do you get that information to them in a caring, respectful way and help them to understand? So we just do a lot of listening. We do a lot of listening, a lot of answering questions. We try to communicate. It's hard. It's very hard, especially when you can't see people. And we're so used to that physical touch of seeing our staff every day when they come in to check in. And now we haven't been able to do that. And it's hard. It's very hard. And the Y is very much about relationships and building relationships. When you are not able to see someone, it takes a big piece out of what we've been used to doing.
Right. That human connection is so important. And
yeah,
I know we've been talking about a lot of challenges that, the Ys have been facing, but has there been anything positive that has came out of these plot twists in challenging times?
Yeah, I think that families definitely appreciate, like they always appreciated the Y, and we always appreciate our families, but we definitely hear it more now. And there's been community members who've given donations, so donation dollars specifically to help childcare, to help our youth development program has gone up. So those aren't the positives I like to think. I mean, we love the money, don't get me wrong. Like having people donate money is great. But I think it's finding those moments of kindness in the middle of COVID that keeps us going. It's fun to be on a Zoom call and to see all the crazy pets that staff have. Like we have a staff that has a huge tortoise, and and the cats and the dogs and the kids, and you get to see a part of each other's lives that we wouldn't have got to see in a normal world. Like we can talk about it, but when you get to see that, and you can have some funny conversations about what's going on in the background. So we've got to know each other in a better way.
Yeah, there's this community coming together, and even though we are not able to, physically see each other, we get to see each other inside of each other's homes, which is, something different. So it's like comes with the cost. And as we wrap this up, how can those listening to the podcast right now be a part of the solutions or help the Y in any way?
Well, number one, I would say people need to wear their mask, wash their hand, and physically distance. That would be number one. I think we need to grant each other grace and a lot of faith that we all are trying to do the right thing. I mean, that would go from our governor all the way on down, that we all are trying to do the best to help our community and to get us through this. And being angry and frustrated doesn't get us anywhere. And any frontline worker, we just need to say thank you. Yeah, because I have staff who've been working since March 15th. When the rest of the state, besides those essential workers, those healthcare workers weren't working, we had staff who were working childcare. And I think that needs to be recognized.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time today, Holly. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Justin.